Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I'm super excited to join Awakenpedia. I'm very, gosh, encouraged to have such a beautiful community of people
Mm.
that are of like mind and like heart and like spirit. It's really what the antidote to whatever is going on in the world right now.
Mm. Mm. Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate you
Yeah.
feeling that and seeing it, because that's in many ways the underlying essence of what I feel we're doing here, and the purpose behind our organization, our mission, and our collective efforts as healers, light workers, and really just human beings.
Yeah.
Um, so it's beautiful to have you, very much in alignment with our intention. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the essence because that's really what my entire arc is all about, helping people find their innate essence.
mm,
And for my story, I grew up fairly normally, I guess. I was in a single parent home, and for all accounts, I felt like I was a normalized and vibrant adult.
mm,
And one day, I just asked the question, like, what's really going on here? And it all starts with curiosity. Who am I? What am I? Where am I going? What am I doing? Who am I surrounded with? Is this real? Do I create this? Is it
mm,
created for me? And, all of those questions are so empowering because it allows us to break from the sleeping spell, right? And the
yep.
sleeping spell is so strong. It's beguiling
Mm,
and it's around us all the time, but so is the field, you
mm,
know. And all of these matrices that are one on top and parallel with each other,
mm,
when we're plugged into it, we can't really see the underpinnings, the real matrix,
mm,
the real field, right? So, um, little did I know, I found out as an adult that I was neurodivergent.
mm,
And I didn't realize what kind of masking that caused.
mm.
And lots of people wear a mask. Everyone wears a mask, the fake it till you make it kind of mask.
Yeah.
And little did I know that that was a barrier between me and the field, me and my real self, me and my eternal essence that
Mm.
has never been born and has never died and will never die, you
Yeah.
know. So because of that journey, I get to show people how to do it for themselves because it all starts with waking up from the sleeping spell and then peeling back layer after layer, with the skill of a surgeon, sometimes hacking big layers off, right?
Mm.
And other times peeling them back. So it's such a beautiful journey, but we incarnate here for a reason, but we forget why we incarnated.
Yeah. 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 We speak a very similar language in terms of how we understand this life journey as an awakening journey,
Mm-hmm.
awakening from our sleeping state of deep unconsciousness,
Mm,
very much where we're just kind of autopiloting through life
yeah.
and not aware of who we even are or what reality truly is, except through how we understand it in our minds, through this prism of our minds.
Right.
And yeah, so waking up from that sleeping state is such a empowering experience, and
Yes.
one that continues to unfold as we continue to shed the illusions. So I'd love to hear about your awakening, if you would speak to us about that journey, and kind of like maybe you can talk even a bit about your sleeping state, if unless you came into this incarnation awakened. I don't know. I'd love to just hear a bit about your journey, and how you kind of first started to wake up, and how that then kind of perhaps inspired you to come into this work that you do, and then talk about what you do. So
Okay,
yeah, let's
beautiful,
go there.
beautiful. So, I've always been slightly awake.
Hmm.
I remember having these moments of knowing as a child. And I don't remember a lot of my childhood. I just remember sparks of memory. I remember a lot of things through pictures.
Hmm.
And so I was into yoga and I was into meditation. I was into things that my friends weren't.
Yeah.
And I was always a very adult child, or so my mother used to tell me. And I would enjoy hanging out with the adults as opposed to playing with the children. And I loved listening to stories and tales of, what people had done and what they had discovered about themselves. So very super soulful as a little girl. Um, and then, in your teenage years, you're just busily assimilating and finding out who you are and all of that. And in your 20s, coming into yourself and working, but still this thread of spirituality ran through it. And when I was in college, my was raised in church, right? So I think we probably went to church 4 days a week.
Oh wow.
Sunday,
Okay.
Sunday, Wednesday, Monday, and then one other kind of half day. My mother was super religious, and that was her trajectory, that made her feel very safe.
Hmm.
But I remember in college, and when I got my first car, I was like, I'll be at church later. I'll talk to you later. And I just wouldn't go.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I had discovered world religions and I
Hmm.
discovered monotheism versus polytheism and what I really believed. And I always believed that I was a part of the world. The same thing in a blade of grass was in me, right? The same
Hmm.
thing in the moon and the stars was also making up my DNA. So I didn't really agree with what I was hearing at church and kind of then set off on my own course to figure out what this thing called life was, right? And
Yeah.
so then I just, started hanging out and going to dinner and parties and partying and doing that whole thing and bar hopping. And so then I would like phase in and out of spirituality. I would go in really deep when there was something going on with me, and then I would kind of phase out when everything seemed okay and status quo. So I did that for most of my life. And at some point, I thought, I just want to investigate all things energy. I'd never done energy work, I didn't do a lot of breath work or anything like that. So I started with that. And then I came upon this practice called Kundalini practice. And it's not the yogic that practice, but it's an activation of
Right.
Kundalini energy.
Yeah.
And I really, really, really loved it. And on the mat, I was able to see myself and feel life force energy flowing through me. And there is nothing as beguiling as life force. Feeling your own life force energy for the
Yeah.
first time, it was it was life changing, literally,
Yeah.
So after that, I decided, well, I want to feel this way off the mat. So during my corporate hours, I would try to bring some of that loving, juicy, delicious, divine energy into my day to day. And I was relatively successful, but we all know what happens after that. Then you don't want to do that corporate plug in, unplug, waiting for the weekend kind of work anymore. You really want to live it as a life, as a lifestyle. You want to be it, right? You want to be it 24/7. You want to breathe it, eat it, drink it. So that led me to leaving my corporate job and doing this full time for other people so that they could experience their own essence and their own energy. I can feel it right now coursing through me as I describe it because it's so palpable and it's available to all of us. It's what grows our nails and our hair,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's what beats our heart. And when
Yes.
you're able to tap into that and relieve yourself of the patterns and the imprints and your generational trauma, and you're able to come back to yourself, it's really a homecoming. And then you realize that you get to have the greatest love affair of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Beautiful.
that's what I help people do. I help people fall in love with themselves again through their own essence, because so many people don't really feel their essence anymore. They're cut off to their bodies. They
Mm.
can't feel their life force. They can't feel their own knowing.
Right. Yeah. We're it's so disconnected from the essence of who we truly are.
Right.
And I define that as sickness. um,
Sure.
and that's what we ultimately tends to manifest as the sicknesses that we label as depression,
Yeah.
anxiety,
Yeah.
even physical ailments, right? It's like we have, because we're operating not from that connected state that's of true
Right.
power and truth in itself, but from these illusions and
Right.
from the state of um, perceived
Yeah.
separateness from everything
Yeah.
that's creating these sicknesses. And that's often so much just the root cause of the dysfunction that we witness in the world. And so it's wonderful to hear you speak to this in the way that I speak to it, and that um, I always find that so amazing, because we have such different journeys, such different paths, but we come to the ultimate same realizations about what's actually happening here, like
Yeah.
what we're doing, the unlearning process. Um, so really beautiful. I do have one quick question about your story. I'm curious if you had any specific events of adversity or challenge that kind of helped to cultivate your surrender into the unknown, or was it more of a gradual, um, just a deepening into your inclination that there's something more going on here? Because adversity tends to be often a really powerful catalyst for
Sure.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just curious.
Yeah. I didn't have kind of that watershed catalyst moment. Mine was more gradual.
Yeah.
I mentioned my neurodiversity. My mother was schizophrenic.
Mm,
But, I doubt that she was schizophrenic. I think that she was just very sensitive
mm,
and articulating that when, of the time, people didn't really understand that, right?
mm,
And so, I had the capital T traumas and I had the lowercase t traumas, and all of those things assisted me ultimately in asking better questions.
mm. Okay.
And it's in the asking better questions. I did a stint being alkaline vegan.
Mm,
So I realized what we were doing to animals, and if we do it to animals, we do it to people, we do it to indigenous populations.
mm,
Um, and I understood that the sleeping spell is also a grooming, right? We're groomed to be asleep to our power.
mm,
And when I discovered that, when I had that realization, it was like a lightning bolt through me. And in that moment, it really separates you from so many people.
mm,
And because people don't want to hear it, right? People don't want to come to that realization. They don't want to be brought to that realization. If they come to it, fine.
yeah.
Um, but there are so many distractions and false narratives and things to distract ourselves with. And it is a little bit of a gauntlet to
Mm,
come back to yourself, because there's also the false ceilings, right? The false spirituality. I was also trapped for a long time in the oh crystals, love and light situation.
mm. Yep.
And so there are so many different ways to immerse yourself in the Maya that it can be challenging to come back to yourself.
Yeah.
So it is my greatest joy and my life's work
Mm.
to help people come back to themselves and see that beautiful divine spark.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, that is eternal and infinite and beyond
Mm-hmm.
destruction,
Yeah,
that has no beginning nor end. It is, and
it
it's
is.
who
Yeah,
we are.
yeah,
So beautiful to hear about how you've kind of come into this awareness and this insight about the true nature of life, of yourself, of reality, and being able to extend that awareness to others, to catalyze that awareness in others, through your life's work, a life's work that I share with you. And in many ways, the underlying purpose of Awakenpedia and this partner program and what we're intending to do by bringing all of these various independent pockets of light together. It's because
yeah,
we can shine brighter when we're as one.
yeah.
Um, so, with that said, let's transition into your specific offerings now. I know you are one of many talents and hats because I feel that when you're really tapped in to energy and to energy dynamics, you're able to apply it, right, in various ways that we have various names for, whether
Mm-hmm.
that's spiritual hypnotherapy or Reiki or shadow
Yeah,
work. And I know you speak and serve to all of these things. So, yeah, if you could talk a bit about what you kind of do, how you package these things and offer them to the world. Um, let's uh, let's move into that.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, I consider myself a lifelong learner with a voracious curiosity for
Mm,
all things energy, all things subconscious. And I think it's because I don't remember a lot of my childhood. Actually, that's why I began my course as a hypnotherapist,
mhm,
because I heard a few hypnotherapists say that if you don't remember your childhood, you have a lot of closed doors.
mm,
So I didn't realize that I had dissociated most of my childhood and adult life, just
mhm,
leaving my body at different points. So it was through energy work, and becoming a Reiki master teacher that I was able to awaken that energetic sense so that I could begin to feel. My number one clair is clairsentience. So I can feel what other people are feeling. And, it's a wild ride to feel what other people are feeling.
mhm.
I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Good, bad, or indifferent, and constantly having to separate who I am and what I'm feeling from who they are and what they're feeling. And when I discovered that I dissociated to not feel whatever my mother was going through, that was a watershed moment, because our biggest gift is often in our wound, right? Our greatest wound. So it made complete sense to me. So it was through the feeling of energy and becoming a Reiki master teacher, and then through hypnotherapy, that I was able to help myself go into my subconscious and extract those energies that no longer served me.
Mm,
And our conscious mind is what, 5%, our subconscious is about 95%.
mm,
So when we can tap into that field, it's the field of infinite potential that is in and around us, that we can tap into subconsciously. We can learn all the secrets of history,
mm,
right? We can tap into all of the beautiful mystics of any time. We can go into the Akashic records, and all of this lives in our cells, in our DNA, in our memory. We can turn back on the latent DNA that we all have.
mm,
And the fact that I can help people do that is really the joy of my
mm,
life. And I've packaged it in a few different ways. I offer one-off hypnosis sessions, and that's great for people that, want to test the waters. They're a little hesitant about diving into their subconscious, but really, I can tell you that the water is fine. It's
mhm,
beautiful, it's warm, it's perfectly inviting. So that's one way to get to know me.
mm,
I also do shadow work sessions because I feel like shadow work is like the oil change of our experience, right? We need
I
that
like that. Yeah.
maintenance. So if hypnosis is um, an overhaul, then shadow work is the oil change.
Hmm. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also offer mentorship, and I also offer packages of hypnosis and shadow work. And that's where the real magic happens. You know, I have a couple of people right now that suffer migraines and lots of physical ailments that
Hmm.
they had when we started and they no longer suffer from now, because there were parts of them that were causing these migraines to relieve them from situations that they were encountering,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Our bodies are so powerful, you know, and we don't have the same ability that animals have to shake off energy after a lion has run after a gazelle. A gazelle will sit and
Right.
shake off that energy, but humans don't have that. So being able to go into someone's subconscious and help them shake that off is such a beautiful and empowering thing. And the person gets lighter and lighter and more spacious, and they can then perceive this beautiful energy that's coming into our bodies as we speak.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Wow. Yeah, I love that that reference you made to the oil change as well, and and just that maintenance aspect, because it's so true, right? Like we're constantly, every moment of life we're exchanging or processing information that is energy that's coming through us.
Mhm.
And oftentimes, right, that the longer we just live or ride this vehicle we call our body, you know, there's a lot of muck that gets
Yeah,
stuck if we're not efficiently processing.
yeah,
And that is trapped energy that I refer to as egoic energy, often, where it's like, you know, it's just causing distortion in how we from true reality, and
yeah.
it's distorting the way in which we see the world and interpret reality.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
having some type of maintenance solution that's allowing us to go in regularly to see what are we holding on to that's limiting us
Yeah,
and preventing us from seeing truly, and how
yeah,
can we, you know, kind of just like flush that out.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I love that.
yeah. Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand it. They think that shadow work is painful and it brings up really painful things. And yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie, it does bring up some challenging moments. But we do it from um, the position of an observation
Yeah.
so that you're not deeply entrenched in it. You can see it from different vantage points. And then once you can shift that energy, receive the energy back from the situation that happened, you then feel so much more spacious, so much more available to yourself, you know.
Mm.
And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand, that all of these limitations, these self imposed limitations and perceptions, make us unavailable to the energy that's here right now. You know, we can tap into the energy of our phones, the plants around us, the light, the air, the elements.
Mm.
And when there's so many things covering over your essence and allowing you not to hear, then you can't perceive it. You can't perceive how good you are. You can't perceive how juicy your life is, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I often analogize it to like a static that, you know, the
Mm-hmm.
more that we are kind of lost in the cloud of mind,
Mm-hmm.
the more the static is there that's preventing us from receiving the signal that's coming from the transcendent dimension that allows us to to be able to perceive the life, the vibrancy of anything, whether it's a blade of grass or ourselves or someone else, whatever it is, right? Because everything is of life, everything's of
Right.
consciousness, and
Yes.
it's like if our channel's clear, we can feel that, tap into it,
Yeah.
and then, you know, it turns the ordinary into the extraordinary, and that's when you're able to live with awe in every moment, and that's when the joy is constant. It's just
Yeah.
flowing because you're just you're living from life itself, right?
For sure.
Uh,
For sure.
yeah, I get very geeky and passionate about this stuff because I also have had that direct experience, right? To know what we're talking about here. And when you've had direct experience, it changes the whole game because now you're embodying it and you're able to live from that seat of the soul.
For
And
sure.
it's just indescribable.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. I had someone ask me, a client asked me the other day, it's like, when can I stop doing all of this? And I said, well, maybe when you stop brushing your teeth or when you stop taking a shower, because we're always unfolding to our own magnificence.
Mm,
There's always another layer. And the sooner that we can start to enjoy that process of unfolding to ourselves, unfolding to our greater nature, the better it gets. And the better it gets, the better it gets,
yep,
right?
yep, exactly. Wow, amazing. Um, Anything else you'd like to share about your offerings or, kind of the nature of your work, of what you're doing, how you do it, how you're kind of extending this as a service to the world? Um, just anything else you'd like to speak to on that point?
Um, the only thing that I would like to say is that um, your subconscious holds a reservoir of your
Mm,
goodness. So allow yourself to experience how good it can be
mm,
and allow your subconscious through hypnosis, through shadow work, to guide you to, I won't say a better way of being, because I don't want to speak into that duality, but just a different way of being. You know,
mm,
we are here to learn and discover and to love. And, I invite people to have the greatest love affair of all times with themselves through shadow work and hypnosis and energy. And when you can tap into that, you feel intrinsically a difference. I feel different than I did 5 years ago. I feel, I'll feel different 5 years from now.
mm,
And the more you can tap into that well, the more you can allow all of the goodness to inform your cells, inform your life, then you become the creator.
mm. Yeah,
So I
yeah.
invite people to become the creator.
It's so true, and uh, I love how you speak to this whole process. It's just very much how I speak to it too, and and that alignment, and because we are right, we're co-creators with the divine, and it's a true partnership that uh, we all are connected to, whether we're aware of it or not. And as soon as you restore that awareness of the connection of who you truly are with what this truly is,
Mm-hmm.
you are able to co-create. And that's the essence of manifestation and how we can actually design our realities with intention.
Yeah.
And we can harness universal spiritual law to alter a physical reality.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a that's when the game becomes fun
Yeah.
because now like we realize this is a playground, we're playing, and now we actually know how to play. We don't have to sit on the sidelines in fear of getting hurt. We can actually run around, we can do
Yeah.
things, we can create things, we
Yeah.
can, and that's our purpose here. Our divine function is
Mm-hmm.
to create and to extend the love that we are through our creations. And uh, when you get to that point, I really sense that you step into roles that we are in now, which is you just want to help others to experience this too. And and by doing that yourself, it helps your own journey, right? So it's like every healer is healing through their healing.
For sure.
And so we're all students and
Yeah.
teachers at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
funny paradox.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the way you put that.
Yeah. Well, Yolanda, I think this is a great place to wrap up. A true pleasure and joy to speak with you. Uh, I just love your energy. Your authenticity is very powerful. I can feel it, you know, and that's the beauty of these. I know technology, oftentimes people are adverse to it, but if you use it consciously, the technology becomes portals to help us, as anything else can become
For
a
sure.
portal. So thank you so much for being here, and for everyone who tuned in. Thank you. If you want to learn more about Yolanda, you can do so in our member forum and about her bio, direct booking links for her offerings, and everything else. But um, this is just the beginning, and thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you. It was such a pleasure to meet and geek out with you a little bit. I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I felt so too. All right, we'll talk soon.
All right. Take care.
Bye bye.
Ciao.